I would say basically that I went to the University of Michigan with the idea that, like most people, I thought I would go to business school or law school. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I went to Michigan because I thought it was a great academic school. It had some rah-rah spirit, and I just thought that would be a great place. And when I went there, I went to rush a fraternity, and there were about 10 slots for 50 guys, and I didn't get in. So being the kind of guy who always liked to be busy, I figured, well, let me go to the football office to see if they need somebody to pick up jock straps and hand out water bottles. They didn't need anybody. So I went to the basketball office and asked them if they needed somebody, and they didn't need somebody. So now I've been rejected by the fraternity, the football office, the basketball office, and I'm like, well, there's got to be something I can do. What can I do? Let me go to the student newspaper. Let me try that. Now, I can tell you that I didn't go to Michigan with the idea, any idea, that I would be writing for the student newspaper. To this day, I don't know what prompted me to go down to the student newspaper, other than I really didn't have an outlet anywhere else. And when I went there, the more that I did, the more I enjoyed it. And I found that I was a little bit passionate about it. I cared more about the writing than I did the actual sports, and I always grew up a big sports fan. And then if we're going to boil this down and make it pretty simple, really liked it, began doing more and more. You know, when you're in college, I didn't know this. I wish I did. To me, the summer between your high school senior year and your freshman year, the summer between your freshman year and sophomore year, the summer between your sophomore and junior year, summer between your senior year and full-time. To me, those are 4 opportunities, 4 windows where you get to work and try out for somebody. And if you get to do a different job, a different internship every summer, you get to be that much more experienced. You get to meet that much more people. I never even did that. Again, my approach was so wrong, but it worked out, I believe, through sheer drive and determination and time and patience. Because let's be honest, I was a newspaper writer for almost 16 years, local beat writer, before getting hired by NFL Network. And so when I was in college at Michigan doing more and more of this, I sent out resumes and applications to hundreds of newspapers. I would have gone anywhere in the country. I would have gone to North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Indiana, Louisiana, you name the place. If the Shreveport News had hired me, I would have moved to Shreveport like that to go cover the high school football team there. Nobody would hire me. Nobody. And so when nobody hired me, I had nothing else to do. I went to graduate school at Northwestern and got my master's in journalism. And while I was getting my master's in journalism, to go back to my internship experiences, I worked at the Chicago Tribune on the side. They paid me to cover high school sports and do all the things that nobody else wanted to do. And so I would go to school during the day and do a high school volleyball match, a tennis match, a fencing match at night. And then got an internship in Seattle. Was trying to get a full-time job there. Didn't get one. Moved back to New York in September of 1990. And once I moved back to New York, I was home for 2 days before I got an offer to cover high school sports in Los Angeles. And then the University of Colorado and some Denver Broncos for the Rocky Mountain News. And I moved out to Denver at the age of 23 in September of 1990, not knowing anybody, not really sure what I was going to do. Moved out there because, like I said, I would have gone anywhere. Started covering the Denver Broncos. Wound up spending 15, 16 years covering that team. Got to learn how to cover a beat. I went to undergraduate at Michigan. I went to graduate school in Northwestern. But I really got my master's from the Denver Broncos. I mean, that's really the best thing that I could say. The Rocky Mountain News paid me to cover a beat, and it was a very intense beat, and there was a ton of work, and I worked around the clock. But it taught me how to develop relationships in football. It taught me how football works, the business of football. Got to meet a lot of people. And after 16 years doing that, in 2004, the NFL Network called. A lot of people told me at the time, don't leave newspapers. You don't leave newspapers for a league or network, but I did. And I was there for 5 years, worked out, got TV experience, enjoyed it. My contract was up. ESPN hired me in 2009, and I've been at ESPN ever since then. That I guess is the Cliff Notes version to where I am. There's a lot of stuff in between. It's just not that simple, but I think the principles are simple. I think the principles are using every opportunity that you can to get whatever experience you can. When I was out in Denver, when I first got hired there, September of 1990, on the weekends, after a year or so, I would show up at the NBC affiliate on Saturdays and tape a segment on TV, not because I wanted to get television experience, but because I thought, wow, what a cool thing. I'm getting to be on TV. Wow. And I thought that would be great for my dating life. And you meet a woman and, oh yeah, there's the guy you see on the NBC affiliate on Saturday nights. What a cool thing. And I was awful on TV, awful. But I was doing it every Saturday, and little did I know I was getting experience. And whenever any radio show called that wanted to get somebody on to talk about the Denver Broncos, I was only too happy to do it. And that essentially, I don't want to say taught me how to talk in public or work, but if anybody ever read the Malcolm Gladwell book called Outliers, he says you have to do something 10,000 hours before you're an expert at it. And I immersed myself in the Broncos beat and everything that came along with it. And that meant doing radio and TV, gathering news, being succinct, being accurate, being first, being right, all the principles that still apply today. And that's why I say I got my master's at the Denver Broncos, because that's where I learned a lot of what I know today. And then, again, I've now been in ESPN for almost 12 years. It's been great. Been a great company to work for. And we'll see what happens next in my career, who knows?
All right, so I'm going to thank that. I'm going to open it up to the class to ask you some questions because I know that you only have a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas, you want to go first? Hey, Adam, how you doing? My name's Nick Romeo. I'm one of the TAs over here to the class. I've just been a huge fan of you since I was young. Your knowledge of the game and just your overall personality on TV is just what really sold me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Sorry. Just so nervous right now. My future goal in career is just to be an NFL analyst and just really focus on fantasy football. What skills do you think I should improve on in order to make myself more admirable for employers?
Well, it's a good question, Nick. And what I would say to you is this, that whether you're talking about fantasy football or fantasy basketball or fantasy golf or pro football or whatever sport, you've got to practice reading and writing. You know, when I was in college, I used to write to my favorite writers and ask them for advice. And every single one of them wrote back to me, read a book, read a newspaper, read a magazine, read whatever you can, read 30 minutes a day. And I would do that religiously for years. And writing is important. Communication skills. That's why when people go to college, I always say to everybody, if it were up to me again, I tell everybody, be an English major, because you'll learn skills that you can use whether you go into journalism or broadcasting or accounting or finance. Everybody needs to learn how to read and write. And the more practice you get, whether today, people can do their own video blogs every day. They can do their own written blogs every day. They can do TikTok videos, and there's all sorts of ways that you can just practice. But, again, I come back to the internship idea. I'd be working for every company I could, every summer I could, volunteering, whatever it means, meet as many people, see as many things, learn as many things, practice reading, practice writing, practice honing my communication skills. And also, I would make sure that, if I wanted to work for Roto World, that I didn't care if Roto World hired me to clean the toilets. Get me in Roto World, and I'm going to be the best toilet cleaner that there is, and I'm going to impress everybody so that they give me more and more responsibilities. So you just want to get yourself in the foot of the door, wherever that is, and then once you're there, make yourself indispensable.
All right. Thank you very much. Really
Good luck.
appreciate it.
Good luck.
On to the next one online is one of my students, Carly. You had a question?
Yep. Hi, Adam. I'm just curious, now that you've kind of established yourself as one of the more reliable NFL insiders, how do you support your upcoming colleagues, particularly women, people like Diana Rossini. I know even your daughter has been involved in stuff.
Hmm.
How do you support female colleagues in an industry that can be particularly cruel to them?
Well, that's a good question. And I would just say I always encourage them. I always tell you, like, there's nothing that you can't do if you want to do. And I think that the industry is ripe for you to make progress and strides and to blaze a new path. I think networks like ESPN, I think people are looking for diversity. They're looking for different voices and different perspectives. And so I know it's been an issue in the past. I would just say that you can do anything you want. That I don't think there's anything holding anyone back right now. You know, again, this is from a middle-aged white man, so what do I know? But I just think that you can do anything you want. And I know you're looking at it like that, and women have had to overcome an awful lot. But I look at it the other way, like, hey, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. And I think it's up to you to go make the most of them. That's me, in my perspective.
How you doing, Mr. Schefter? Thank you for coming in. And I'm a prospective on-air personality, particularly in the area of sports. And I know now that even on this low level, I have trouble keeping up with all the storylines and sports and, you know, whether it be one sport or just the entire slate. I was wondering, because you're blindingly fast with your updates and I'm sure with your news reporting and just the process. Do you have any tips for keeping up with the chaotic sports world and the news that comes along with that?
Well, what I would say to you, whether you want to be on air, off air, behind the camera, in front of the camera, I think it's great that you want to be on camera, but I wouldn't be thinking about that right now. I'd be thinking about being the best reporter, gatherer, producer, editor, whatever skills you have, understanding the business. The on-work stuff will come. But I think when you talk about knowing all these storylines or keeping up with the sport or the business, I think in anything, whether it's law or medicine or journalism or teaching, whatever it is, to do the job to the highest level, I think you have to live that job. You can't, I don't think it's, do you think that with my job, or to use a colleague of mine, for Adrian Wojnarowski, some people, they work 9 to 5 and they punch out at 5 o'clock and they go home. Do you think that that's how most jobs work? Like the jobs that people are fully invested in, they're thinking about them all the time. They're on the phone all the time. They wake up in the middle of the night taking notes. They're getting calls early in the morning, on the weekends, on holidays. I would just say, and by the way, and that's not for everybody either, right? Like you may want just a 9 to 5 job. I don't have that normal life. Okay. So if you want the normal life, married, that's great. I think it's great. And I really mean that. But if you want to be in your field and rising through your field, I think you have to live the job. And that's a choice everybody makes. Some people want to live the job and do something that they love and don't mind living it. And some people, it's too much. They don't want to do that. It's more important to have a great marriage, now the trick, can you have everything, right? Like if you could do that, that's great. And you try to balance it all out and you do the best job you can. Inevitably, usually something's suffering because nobody has that much time in the day. But just in terms of work, to me, the people that are most successful at it, the people that really do it well, are the ones who I believe have to live it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it. It's on your mind at all times. And that's why it's important to do something that you love and that you really, or that you really like. Because if you're doing that and you hate digging ditches in a cemetery and you're doing it all the time and you're waking up to do it day after day, not going to be fun going to work, not going to be as happy as you could be. And that's why, you're picking your profession is one of the most important things that you do. And it's something that's very important. And I would say choose wisely. And again, that's why I'd say go back and do those internships, try things, see what you like, see what you don't like. And also know that when you leave school and you get a job at the local TV station, you're not married to that job forever. If you, after a year, you don't like it, you can go switch to being a salesman. If you want to start out as a salesman and you don't like that, then you can go do something. But you have to have experiences trying things so you have an idea of what you do and don't like.
All right, so we have maybe a couple minutes left. Do you have time for one more question, or
Yeah.
do you have to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am, first off, go Blue, go Cats.
Thank you.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of your job?
Well, I would say that the rewarding part of my job is my job. And that's a very, I love my job. I get to cover the NFL. I get to deal with great people. There's nothing like the rush of breaking a story. All elements. I work for a great company, ESPN, Disney, that they're great bosses, great produce. It's fun. You're part of the draft. You're part of free agency. It's hard. It's stressful. Any job done well, done the right way is. But I would say the most rewarding part of the job is the job.